Welcome to the Homegames Patch Notes podcast, or is it the Patch Notes Homegames the podcast?
It's right. So it's the Patch Notes, the Homegames, the podcast. It's kind of a three-tiered title.
It's got a primary, secondary, and tertiary title all in one. I think it's actually should be the podcast Homegames the Patch Notes. But anyway, so Patch Notes, the Home Games podcast, brought to you by Joseph and Yazeed.
True.
Are here.
Yeah.
I'm the Yazeed. This is the Joseph.
The Joseph. Everything is the today.
That's right. This is episode 4, 5?
This is episode 4. Technically episode 5 if you count 0, but I don't count 0, even though, I don't know. What do you think? It's kind of 5.
I think we should say 4. We need to stick to the programmer's guide.
Yeah, it does start at 0.
Based indices. Except for Cold Fusion. If anyone out there knows, Cold Fusion's 1 based, and that's a nightmare.
Isn't PHP the same way, or am I thinking of another language?
I don't consider PHP a language.
All right. Starting strong.
I'm an elitist when it comes to programming languages. I actually really enjoy learning new ones, and I think PHP is not a good language.
Great. Officially this is episode 4.
This is episode 4. Both officially and unofficially. It's episode 4.
Yes.
There we go. All right.
But it's our 5th episode, so that's pretty cool.
Our 5th episode. It's episode 4. If the episodes were in array, the dot length would be 5.
Yes. The last index. Anyway.
So from the last time we talked, quite a few things have changed. For one, we're changing the game that we're making from... it's not called Slaps, but I legitimately can't remember what Sylvia told us it was called. In my head, it's still Slaps.
She said the real name is Slapjack.
Okay, all right. Slapjack. And we're switching to Medium. Did you want to go into kind of like what Medium is and why we're switching to it?
We're not so yes, we're not calling it Medium though, because I don't know if we're like ripping off copyright or something.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. We're gonna call it like large, venting.
Regular. We'll call it regular. No, so we were at a party with our friends for Halloween, and there was a card game that people were playing, and it was dead simple, and it was just a stack of cards with words on them, and basically 2 people draw a card. There's a word on each card, and then they both have to basically come up with an answer of what they think is the middle word. So if it was say I had peanut butter and then Yazeed had bread, and then whatever, for some reason, because we both know the way each other think, we both knew that we both came to the conclusion that jelly is like the middle word there. So then it's like, okay, well, we both agree that we're ready, and then we say jelly. We both say our word at the same time. And if it's the same, then we kind of win or whatever. And if it's not, then the 2 words that we said are our new 2 words. So then we just kind of go.
I know this game. I didn't know it as Medium. I heard it as the Mind Meld.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not like a brand new idea or whatever from this one card game, but it was just a thing that our friend had. And it was just like, wow, she spent $30-$40 on this deck of cards with branding and all this kind of stuff, but it's just words on cards.
Did you say that to her?
No, but to Synovia there
she would have hit you so hard if you said that to her.
Yeah, she definitely would have. But Synovia was just to her quietly on the couch, like, I could definitely make this in Home Games. And I was kind of just being a jerk because of just how simple the game was, but really I thought I could. And she was just like, well, do it. Just make it.
And we have a dictionary.
Yeah, it was like, okay, we could. And so we basically have that now. We have a working version of that. You get 1 round. Like it's a bugged out version of it. You get 1 round. You can't really do a new game after that. You have to restart the whole game server. But it's getting somewhere. And yeah, there were quite a few changes, I guess, that we had to make in order to support that. And then the card game Slapjack that we had is still there. It's still almost finished. But we kind of just, like Yazeed said, took a little break to go and work on This is the thing, because it just seemed easier. And it actually was.
So the way we could do this is we could try to play this game right now, verbally.
Oh, we can. I can deploy to Pico de Gallo if you want, and we can take like a little 10-minute thing.
Oh, hell yeah. That'd be sick, actually. Yeah, okay. For people who don't know, do we tell them? Can we tell them?
Yeah, sure.
So Pico de Gallo, picodeg.io, is the kind of like test bed that Joseph has set up on the internet that hosts whatever version of Homegames we wanted to play and test out. So we're gonna play it. Joseph's getting it all set up and stuff, so I'm just gonna write some filler at this point. And by write, I mean I'm just gonna talk and ramble for a little bit while he does that. So if you're out there and you want to try it out, you can do Pico de Gallo and try it out. I can't guarantee it'll be up because during the work week, Joseph's very busy, and it's not like I monitor Pico de Gallo and text him, Pico de Gallo's down, but I have done that. I've also broken Pico de Gallo and texted him I broke Pico de Gallo at like at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. But, you know, it is what it is.
I can confirm that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was showing some of my friends / coworkers. I was like, look at this sick thing like we're making. And they're like, oh, that's really cool. And then they did something that broke it, and I was like, oh no.
That was the layer test, right? When it was just
when you could move. No, it was the touch test where when you move the boxes and one went off the side, it would just make the Waluigi noise infinitely.
Yeah, it was that Waluigi noise that specifically was breaking everything.
For people who don't know that story, basically what happened was Joseph wanted to test putting audio into the game, and I suggested adding the Waluigi noise, so he did, and something about that and one of the tests we were doing at the time infinitely made the Waluigi noise, and it was incredible to say the least. Like the first few times it was funny, then it became irritating, but then like an integer overflowing, it became funny again.
You just embrace it.
Yeah. At some point you're like, this is my life now.
Yeah, I get that. Also, I updated to Catalina, so my Mac is dying right now, so it might take me a while to deploy, but I'm doing it. All right, you could refresh and it should be good now. I had to restart the game server.
Hell yeah. All right.
You are in shoe lunacy.
And you're Ligurian zoning?
It's true. It actually
kind of sounds like a good name. Your name sounds pretty good.
This is actually insane that we're both playing this right now.
It is. I'm super stoked. Okay, so if I click new game right now, we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, if you click new game. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know this word.
Kua, which I'm pretty sure is an ice cream brand here, and then non-spontaneous. We both have that.
Hey, where am I supposed to type?
So, okay, you're on a keyboard, so you can just type.
Oh.
And that thing in the middle will, whatever. If you click it, it'll go away, and it's no longer editable, but it defaults to being editable. So, basically, type your answer in there, and then ready up.
There's a bank called Kua.
Yeah, there is.
It's interesting.
So I just readied up so that green thing above or next to my name should be green now. Or that thing next to my name should be green now instead of red. Do you see the green, Yazeed?
Yes.
Next to my name?
There we go.
Okay, and then now it's counting down. See, so you said banking, and I said obesity.
Be cool or not.
So the whole thing with the thing is, be cool is essentially we didn't say the exact same thing, but there's some wonkiness. You know, it's basically just be cool. They said basically the same thing. Verse or nah, which is no point. So this is point or no point. There's not much game beyond this, and you can see there's nothing really to do on the screen anymore. If you click these buttons, I don't think anything happens. And it's just kind of broken. But if we had the same thing, it would have said same, because it's just comparing the string that we gave.
Is it, capitalization immune.
It'll to lower both of them, so it's
Hey.
case insensitive.
There we go. That's the word. Case insensitive, not whatever I said. Capitalization immune, which is definitely not that word. That's pretty sick, actually. I'm hype. I like this. Personally, I really like this game. One of the podcasts I listen to, one of the things they do right before they start the podcast is to actually play this game. So they're like kind of on the same wavelength.
Nice. Yeah, it seems like an improv game.
Yeah, I think this is actually based on an improv game. But yeah, we should do this again.
Want me to restart the server?
Yes.
So like a next step here, we could talk about later, but we'll clearly be fixing this so we can have a new game button. And basically,
yeah, a new game button would be nice. The be cool and nah button working would be nice.
All right, well, let's not go too crazy here. I don't know about working buttons.
Should the nah just kick you back to a new game?
I don't know if we want to do points yet. So if we want to do points, then it'll be like nah is a 0, and then it'll go to a new game of whoever's next in the queue. Because like this top right is essentially the circle, and so the pairs that are up is just the current 2, and then skip one, and
I see. Okay.
And so it can do that, and then just display a score next to everybody's name, and then it would just move in a cycle like that, and people can kind of move in and out of the queue, and it would just adapt to it.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
I think.
All right.
So are you Chartist's Aretology?
Yes.
I love that this is working and we built this.
My favorite part about it is like I legitimately have no idea how to even say your name. That first word is like
Pentaphilus. So this is going to what we talked about on episode 2, you and I, about how we should get some sort of refinement of those words instead of just every word in the English dictionary. Something that would basically make it more fun, I guess. Words that people know. Something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Anyway.
Like a rating system. I'm ready for the new game.
All right. My word is betor. Or one word is betor, the other word is crabfish. Not better, like with an E. Betor, like with an O.
Yeah, what is that? I'm going to look up what that means.
I don't know. Oh, a better, like someone who is betting.
Oh, yeah, a person who bets typically regularly or habitually. And what is a crabfish? No definition found for crabfish. The Crabfish is a song.
Good to know. All right. We've both given our answers. Mine was gambling addiction at sea. And yours was Johnny Cash. So we're not quite on the same wavelength. Maybe shouldn't be doing a podcast if we're that far off, but...
All right, hold on a second. Let's backtrack, because why did you say gambling addiction at sea?
It's better and crabfish, and I just imagine gambling on a boat. See the nautical theme, and then losing money, you know. So gambling addiction at sea just kind of summarizes that whole vibe to me.
That makes sense. I went with Johnny Cash because, cash for betting.
Yeah.
And Johnny Cash because a crabfish is a song.
Oh, by Johnny Cash?
No, it's not by... Actually, you know what? It might be. Let me look that up again.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do this when we don't know what the hell the words are.
No, it's from Jerry Bryant.
Oh, yes.
Jared Bryant, our good friend.
Yeah, friend of the show. Jared Bryant.
Husband, she cried out, "The devil's in the thunder jug, and he's got hold of me." What's a thunder jug?
While you look up thunder jug, I'm going to go get my next cup of coffee.
So, real quick, going back. We went over the game, why the changes, we played it a little bit. Editable text boxes. Did you want to go over kind of like what went into that, and like what we're going to use that, and then like anything else that you think we should go over from this game?
Yeah, the editable text boxes was fun because it was seemingly not that crazy, but like Yazeed referenced earlier, or I don't know if I'll edit that part out, not sure yet, but the fact that there's that text box at the bottom of the canvas now in the web app, and like a comment about the hack. So anyway, the whole thing is just we needed a way to have a user give input to the game via text, and on a desktop, something with a keyboard, it's easy. You just type, and the browser will get the key down event and send it off to the game server, and it's super easy. The problem comes in when we're doing all this in a canvas and we have to get, we basically have to natively do all this stuff in Homegames, which is what does it mean to take input and throttling input. So when I hold down the key, it's not just blasting the whole screen with the letter, because that's what it would do if it was actually going as fast as it reads the event. Like, how do we handle all this kind of stuff? The same way that we have kind of native handling of clicking something or tapping something. Anyway, the whole thing was just, how do we get that to display visually to let someone know that they're typing? Well, that's a text box with like a flashing cursor most of the time. We don't have a flashing cursor. That would be kind of an animation of some sort, which we don't have yet. But anyway, the need for kind of a common logic editable box was there. So it's actually kind of plugged in pretty nicely to the existing game node stuff. All it does is really have a state, editing or is not editing. And then based on that state, whenever I get a key down or key up event, I'll do something to something within my game, which in this case, we'll just look at that one text box and be like, okay, we're assuming you want to edit the content here. So kind of special logic for a backspace, because, that deletes something instead of adds something and things like that. And I don't think an arrow key would work. So like moving between the thing you already typed, you'd have to backspace it. Stuff like that. So it's not the exact thing that you would expect. Anyway, that's how it works for desktop things with keyboards, like I said. And so that text box at the bottom of the canvas is because when you're on mobile, you don't have a keyboard, so you can't type. And you can't tell the browser that you want to type because all that's on the screen is a canvas. You need to have a input element in HTML, like in the actual DOM, to tell Safari or Chrome or whatever, hey, I want to bring up the keyboard on the device to type something. So I can't do that unless I, like I said, have that DOM element. So that's why I have that box. Basically, on iOS, you just tap that box, it brings up the keyboard, and then you can type whatever you want, and it'll just change on the canvas. But that's an example of one of those things we talked about a couple weeks ago about needing to do fancy things on, like within an app that I can only really do on an app, which in that case would be on tap this, bring up the keyboard, like natively just bring up the keyboard instead of depending on a browser.
All right, that makes sense. Yeah. So like we might cut this out part.
Well, that's the tough thing about this is because I never know what parts of this I'll cut out, so I don't want to be like, well, like Yazeed just said, because you might not have just said it to the people.
As far as the listeners go, Yazeed never said it.
Yeah.
So kind of going back, like the uses for the text boxes, we're looking at this game changing your name. Kind of like other games that we come up with too that require typing in. Is there any like other use you can think of for that? I basically just said every use though.
Yeah, I think really just anytime anybody wants to put in text, it would be the common thing. Maybe we can add styling or other kind of things on top of it. But in the future, I think it would just be import Homegames common text box or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Right on. And then, was there any other stuff you want to talk about from that though? Not from making the game, like any new stuff that you added or needed to work on, or
the kind of state of the player that we have in that thing with the green and red, ready or not ready thing. That was kind of cool too, but it was really just using existing tools. It's just something that was kind of already possible that we hadn't done yet, which is kind of cool. Just knowing, the tools that we have actually can do quite a bit, and we just don't really do them yet. Stuff like that. But yeah, nothing really new, I guess, outside of the text box stuff. That was the biggest thing. And then I think, just getting a solid answer to, do we need apps eventually? It's like, yes, we do.
That makes sense. It's also nice to know that we're going to need an app now rather than in like 6 months or something.
Yeah, and it's like
so
we'll get to learn
sorry.
iOS and like you'll get to learn Swift and Kotlin, to do iOS and Android apps. We could also probably do something like with React Native, but I don't like the idea of doing that because it's kind of the whole thing of frameworks versus no framework stuff.
Mhm.
Magic versus no magic.
I mean that, and also like part of what you said the last podcast that I was on as well about learning, like learning Swift, learning Kotlin, like learning how to build those apps versus using React Native. And I mean, there's a learning curve with React Native too. Not like there isn't one,
Right.
but it is easier to learn React Native coming from a JavaScript background than it is to learn Swift.
And knowing
coming
React. Both of us know React.
Yeah, and knowing React versus not knowing Swift at all and having to like learn Swift to do that.
And Kotlin is just, Java with some nice syntax basically. So it's like, okay, well I could still kind of reason about this, but I don't even know Objective-C. So that the whole iOS thing would be a lot to learn because I know nothing about anything.
Wait, do they use Objective-C anymore? I thought it was just Swift.
No, but like the common new thing is Swift, but I'm saying I've never, like on Android it was, well, it used to be Java, now it's Kotlin. And it's like, okay, well, it used to be Objective-C, now it's Swift. It's like, well, at least I know Java. So I kind of, if I'm learning Kotlin, it was kind of for people who had already known Java. But I don't know anything in iOS at all. So moving to Swift, I'm like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that is true. Swift and Go were two languages that I heard really interesting things about. No idea how they work or function.
Yeah, I don't know anything.
But yeah, like I think it'd be pretty cool to learn those two and just like figure that stuff out. And also building an app. Like I've never built an app on a phone before.
We actually have Homegames and we have Homegames iOS and Android apps already. Like the thing that will launch and say "Hello World" and it's called Homegames. We got that. So I'm already an expert.
Sin's already a professional app developer. He's making the big bucks. He's making the new Flappy Bird.
Yeah, I was actually just going to reference Flappy Bird. That's weird. We are on the same wavelength.
The funny thing is, like, we won't think of the same word, but we are on a very similar wavelength, like, almost all the time. Yeah. The question is, do we make Flappy Bird on Homegames?
Oh, yeah, we could.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. The timing would be hard. And how would it be multiplayer? Would it be multiplayer?
It's not multiplayer. It's everyone's playing on the same map, but you don't see any other player.
So it's like
and
secret.
The person who gets the furthest wins.
It's like secret multiplayer.
Yeah, secretly multiplayer. Well, because the other option is we'd have to set up individual instances, which we already said like that seems like a bad idea. So
yeah, well at least right now it seems like a bad idea.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, like how would we make it single player? Like one of the design decisions we had made pretty early on was this was a multiplayer thing. So if we wanted to make it single player, you would need to open up individual ports, and then you'd have to have a way for somebody to connect to like each port, so they're getting their own instance, wouldn't we?
Yeah, but that's how it's going to work in the long run anyway. And it doesn't like we said a couple weeks ago. It's you can configure however many players you want. So sure, it's completely built for multiplayer. But if for some reason someone wanted to design a game that was only one player, and we do have the whole thing where it's multiple instances on one kind of master server thing, then it's totally not really an intended thing, but kind of a unintended side effect is that someone playing a single player game would be 100 people playing 100 instances all by themselves or whatever.
100 individual players. That's interesting.
But I mean that's not really going to happen ever, but you know what I mean, it hypothetically could.
Yeah, actually, that could work as well. I was just mostly thinking of like because like one of the things we had talked about was somebody who doesn't really know tech, they wouldn't really understand like, oh, you're trying to connect to a port that's already in use. So like, would we just shuffle them to a different port? But then we wouldn't necessarily know what ports are open, would we?
Well, we would. That was the whole conversation we had about the master game server allocating ports within a Homegames port range. So it's the one creating and bringing down servers. When someone connects to something through their like dashboard game list, the game server is either creating or joining an existing session it already has for that game. It's already on a port. It's already whatever. So the game server knows about other game servers and will direct people to them in the UI, but they won't ever be changing the port in the URL or anything.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because it's the same client. It's the same client talking to a different backend. It's really the same server. I mean, like the same machine, same host or whatever on a different port. So it'll just be moving between those and getting different game payloads and rendering something different on a screen. It doesn't really know what it's talking to at the time. I think that'll work. I don't actually know, but I think it'll work.
Well, so what you're saying there is that, like, basically the server... So you'd have different instances of that server running on each individual port. So the server doesn't necessarily know, like, what it's supposed to be... Well, it's not like it doesn't know what it's supposed to be rendering. It doesn't know who it's supposed to be rendering for. And the client's like, it's me. I'm the one you're rendering this for. Or, like, I'm the one you're sending your payload for.
Well, it's the same thing it is today. A game just gets players, and then players just get updates. It has no idea when they get those updates. It just changes its own state and handles player input. So that's really all that they would. The game server and game session would be mostly the same as it is today. There would just be that other layer on top that's saying, okay, well, player wanted to play game A. Does a game server running game A already exist? If it does, I'll tell them a list of who's already in game A and how many players are in that game server. Otherwise, they're going to create a new session of game A, which would just be spinning up a game server that we're already spinning up now.
Okay, that makes sense. I think I agree with that.
But that's long run.
That way we could, I mean, that way you could have 7 people playing an individual games. Like 7 people could be playing Flappy Bird without having it being secretly multiplayer.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, secret multiplayer, that would just be a design decision, right? It's like I see Homegames and it's like, okay, well, I want to do secret multiplayer. Well, not really secret multiplayer. Everybody knows it's secret multiplayer. And it would be a limit of 8 or whatever. So you know that there's 8 people in your game, but you can't see any of them, and that's the game. Versus, no, this is a one-player game. And Homegames will handle both of those cases. Either way, it's just, well, it capped out at 1 player, so no one can join this session, but they can start another one.
That makes sense. Yeah, okay. The one thing that I was thinking about with a multiplayer Flappy Bird is that you could add, like, Mario Kart style, like, obstacles. Like, oh, you picked up an item, you can place this item, and then all the players behind you are now see this item on their map, and they need to now avoid it as well as everything else. So there's an advantage of being fast in terms of, like, getting past the, like, getting ahead of the curve.
Can you imagine the frustration, though, of blue shells in Flappy Bird? How mad people would get? Throw their phones? All that whole thing?
Yeah, I think that was, like, the joy of Flappy Bird. People were terrible at it, and they loved it.
Yeah, that is true.
So adding blue shells, I think people would get even more hype. Or hate it. I don't know. It's hard. It's really one or the other. It's either like a Dark Souls-esque, like, wow, this game is so great, or it's like I actually don't know a game that's very difficult that everyone like hates.
I don't know. I know that people generally didn't like one of the Devil May Cry games, but I forget why. I think it might have been too easy, not too hard. I don't remember. Anyway, Devil May Cry.
But yeah, okay, that makes a lot more sense. I think I need to go back through and re-listen to that podcast then, and just, like, remember, like, what we had talked about in full.
Maybe it's just because I've heard every one of our podcasts multiple times, because from hearing them raw, unedited, and then editing, and then hearing the full version before I edit or before I upload, and then hearing the full one again after I upload. I've heard all the conversations, so I'm just like, oh yeah, no, we talked about that. I remember that. I'll tell you the minute mark.
I listen to each podcast 2 to 3 times, so typically it'll be when we're making it the unedited, the unedited version, and then the final cut. Usually,
it's a great way to find things about yourself that you hate. By the way, just listening to yourself talk for hours.
If you think about it, you've listened to yourself talk for so many hours.
Yeah. The other day I was listening at work because, my process is just hear the whole thing unedited to know what I want to edit, so I'll have the full thing just on my headphones on when I'm doing stuff at work. And I listened to it and I was laughing at something, but I was listening to myself talking for like 5 minutes straight. I was just kind of talking and just kind of going, and then something happened that was funny and I was laughing and I just felt like a jerk. Like, I'm listening to myself and then I'm laughing at me talking.
I don't know. Every time I listen to the podcast, I'm like, God, I love it. Maybe that's like the narcissism.
It's because we like ourselves. If you give it to anybody else, it's just like, yeah, who are these people? And I don't care. Feedback from Synovia on the last one, by the way. People will hear this, but the whole thing was just questions back and forth. And she said, just from the stuff that she listened to, it seems like the content just kind of goes over her head, which is like a reminder that people generally just don't have any. They don't have like the same thing as us. You know what I mean? Like, I forget that people just don't think about instances and like servers and rendering and arrays and indexes or whatever, like as normal things, because people aren't like, most people are not weirdos. I don't know. It's just good to know.
Yeah, it is a good reminder.
Yeah.
I mean, we could always explain like a little bit of like what that all is. But the other side of it too is like, partly this is documentation.
Yeah.
Sometimes in documentation you got to use technical terms.
Words like tertiary, something that you said in the beginning.
Tertiary is a good word to have in your back pocket. That's all I'm saying.
Just say third.
But third, you don't go primary, secondary, third. You go primary, secondary, tertiary.
I do, because I don't think like a smart guy. I'm like, oh, well,
oh my God.
The form of the word has to be consistent. Nah, dude. 1, 2, third.
So, going back to 2 or 3 podcasts ago, then we talked about like the goal setting, and with this game, like, it's super close to being done. Like, regular, not medium, is super close to being done. Really, the things we're missing out of it is the new game button, maybe cleaning up that text box a little bit so it's styled a little bit better, and like kind of like minor things like that. But like the guts of the game are still there.
Yeah.
And then allowing the players to change their names. Do we want to include that in terms of this game, or do we want to kind of like target that for later?
Targeting what specifically?
Well, like players allowing themselves to change their names.
Oh, I think we could do that. I'm pretty sure I already have that. I forget if it's finished or if it's in that version of it, but I remember doing that and being like, oh, that worked. It was essentially just copying and pasting the on edit logic, the on click and edit logic of the existing text box. But then it kind of made it trickier because we have now track 2, so it's not just am I editing as a global is editing. It's a per component thing, but but yeah, it's pretty much there, so we can add that in before we consider this done.
Oh, right on. Okay.
Because that would also be this is already in there, I remember, because that is also the first instance of a game changing a home games wide attribute, which is the name. So it'd kind of be that whole thing feeding back into the home games common, where maybe I can change my name in one game and then I go into another game and I have that same name that I put in. It's the home games wide thing, which would be,
I think that's super cool. The other option is we just keep assigning people out random names.
Yeah. But that would be the work there of when this is all one server passing this all between. We would need to basically serialize that player info and keep it between, move it between each thing.
So we would use something like Redis, or would we kind of build our own serialization, deserialization, like shared?
Well, it's already got the object with the player ID to player. So I think as long as we move that out from the game server to being managed by the server, then it is kind of already there. We can just use a JS object. We don't need to be too fancy because it's not distributed or anything, so Redis doesn't really need to be there.
Yeah, okay, cool. It means we can avoid using Redis, which is another nice thing.
Hey, I love Redis. Redis is Redis.
I'm not saying Redis is bad, but where you can avoid using something, right? Like if you don't have to use a tool, don't use that tool. You know.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I enjoy Redis. It does a good job. If this were some sort of thing where the game server needed to be distributed, or the server needed to, somehow be multiple instances of this and behind a load balancer or something, then for sure we would use Redis. But because it's just one instance of the server, it's all in memory is fine.
So if we ever open up like a paid hosted, or not like an unpaid hosted service, like where we host instances of Homegames for people to connect to.
Yeah, if there was ever like a Homegames premium, yeah, then we would.
Like you can connect from anywhere.
Yeah, because then it would be some sort of thing where we probably have a server available in each part of the country, like physically closer to people, and then I don't know how that would work. You'd have to have your load balancer somehow know location or do it something. Basically like CD. I don't know how anything works.
Would you, and using like a DNS or whatever, like as it goes out, doesn't it try to find the closest one that it can find?
I don't know how it knows closest though. Is it just like hops?
I mean, isn't it like you ask the closest nodes, like, hey, do you know what this is? And they say yes, and they jump you one node closer until you get to your node. So basically, like, if you're in Chicago and you're asking for Homegames, it says, like, okay, well, the closest Homegames, like, the one I know about is here. So then you go there, but that happens to be the Chicago one because it's closest.
But all that logic would have to be us. I guess I'm saying if we would only need Redis if someone goes to homegames.link and homegames.link is not one instance but multiple behind a load balancer.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because then
that's like right now, but like a paid, like a premium Homegames where you can like have a whole instance of Homegames with like games available and stuff like that. You'd also probably need Redis for that. We would also need like a database at that point.
Well, only
like either like Mongo or something.
Yeah, if the second that we start to make this a thing where it's like we're actually real and you could be able to access this over the internet and have it be working, well then we would want to have multiple services or multiple server hosts to be able to say, okay, well here's all the Homegames instances that are running, and maybe at that point it's every Homegames instance is reporting back to this centralized thing, which is really just a service behind a load balancer that's putting stuff into Redis. So then that is also pulling from Redis when you're whatever. But I don't think we're ever actually going to do this. We would only really need Redis if it was more than one host, if we couldn't just store everything in memory. Which I don't even, we're not business people, so we don't have an idea of how we would set that up to like make it real and charge money for it or whatever.
That's what we have Synovia for. She's the real smarts.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, cool. I don't know. I didn't really have anything else besides some closing questions. So, do you have any topics you wanted to hit on?
Death Stranding's pretty weird. I want to play that new Professor Layton. I got Professor Layton, but I haven't played it yet.
What is Professor Layton?
It's a Japanese puzzle game. It's like a detective mystery game puzzle thing. Oh, I also got Red Dead on PC, Red Dead on the personal computer, so we'll see how that goes. Because I played it on Xbox last year and I beat it, so I'm ready to do it all over again.
I heard that there was like some crashing game, like there's like some weird about it, like people with AMD processors or something had to update their BIOS.
I didn't hear anything about people updating their BIOS. I heard the game crashing and stuff like that, and it just running generally pretty bad. But we'll see. That's kind of why I got it. I want to just see how it runs, because I don't really intend on playing it, because I spent like 60 hours plus playing Red Dead last year, and I only enjoyed maybe 15 of those hours. So I'm not trying to play the whole thing again. I'm trying to see how it runs.
Did you beat the game?
Yeah.
You said you beat it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But you enjoyed a fifth of that,
fourth of that, yeah, because the whole game is just riding your horse from one place to another, and the people who made it are just like, no, I don't think you understand. We spent 7 years detailing this environment. You have to look at it, and I'm just like, okay, but I've been doing this over and over and over and over again, and there's only so many times I can look at a digital tree and be impressed. So I'm just kind of not anymore. I'm trying to get to my next level, which will just be shooting a guy. And then I'll have to ride the horse back here and shoot a guy. Then I'll get on the train to shoot a guy. It's like, okay, well, game's alright, but not 60 hours of whatever. I'm not going to beat it again.
Dang. That's kind of cool. I don't know. I've never played a Red Dead Redemption game. So, I think if you do stream, I'll watch it.
I'll never stream. I hate streaming games.
You don't like when your friends during your stream call you names?
No, because it's like an improv show while you're doing something that you don't like. You're trying to enjoy something, and then I remember because it was like Tevik joined my stream of Dark Souls or something once, and then I was like, oh, I forgot I was streaming. Oh, I don't have a mic on. Okay, well, I'll put a mic on. I'm walking down the hallway. There's a guy. I'm gonna hit the square now, and he's gonna attack. It's just like, okay, well, I have to narrate. Like, why am I streaming? I don't have. I guess I just shouldn't stream. That's what it is.
I think my brother should stream.
That'd be good.
He seems to have the personality.
He does have the personality. We always made fun of him for it.
He's the personality of the streamer that you make fun of, which is the best kind of streamer.
Yeah.
Nice. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I'm really afraid to ask you this question, actually, because I don't know how you're going to take it. Is a song an advertisement for an artist?
Is a song an advertisement for an artist? Yeah. In a way, everything a public figure does is an advertisement for them.
Does it make you feel weird thinking of a song as an advertisement then?
No, because it's all a business anyway. Like, I'm really just a customer for what they're trying to sell, which is a concert ticket or an album, but it's all just marketing.
Okay.
I've accepted this fact. It isn't like, I listen to most music I listen to. It's not some guy who's like putting his heart and soul into it, whatever, just because he loves it. It's some dude trying to make the catchiest thing possible because he wants me to listen to it the most so he can get the most money from it. Like, I get it.
But you still listen to it because it's so catchy.
Yeah, because I'm a sheeple.
Does that mean that you accept Kid Cudi as doing that?
I don't think Kid Cudi does. I think he's the person who does that the least. I think he's the least influenced by that whole thing. Because he makes stuff that's not... I don't know. He doesn't really follow that formula, I guess. But at the end of the day, there is still some dude in a suit telling him what to do. I don't think he listens as much, though.
Do you think Kanye does that?
I think Kanye, at this point in time, is beyond any of that stuff. There's someone in a suit telling him what they think he should do, but Kanye is just going to do whatever he wants to do. Go look at the Follow God video. It just came out yesterday. Also, we forgot to mention in our intro, but today's November 9th.
Oh, damn. I thought I did a perfect intro on that one. I mean, that's obviously a lie. But
it's also the 9-year anniversary of Man on the Moon 2, which is crazy. Best album. Best Kid Cudi album.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Joseph's favorite artist is Kid Cudi.
Yeah, Synovia did it. Her first question of the last one was One Gotta Go, Kid Cudi, Kanye West, Young Thug. And it's just like, you're gonna kill me at the beginning.
Oh, dude, I gotta watch this episode. Oh my god, when it goes out, I'm gonna watch it because that sounds like a great question. That's a good ad for it.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's the previous episode because we are recording the one that we're gonna upload next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that you'll hear that one on Wednesday.
So I have to wait till Wednesday to hear it?
We were talking mad trash about you, so I gotta edit out that stuff.
Were you really?
No.
Oh.
Also, we mentioned you were at BlizzCon, but I didn't know if you actually wanted us to mention that you were at BlizzCon or just away in some general thing.
No, I don't. Like, here's the thing, right? Like, I didn't tell you this part actually, but so when we went in on Saturday for BlizzCon, we actually ran into the protesters.
Yeah.
Like, because they were right at the entrance. super chill. All of them, super chill. You went in, they were like, "Hey guys, welcome to BlizzCon. Hope you have a great time. Support Hong Kong." That was it. That's all they said to us.
And someone who like officially runs Blizzard stuff, or just some?
No, like the protesters.
Oh,
like that was the protesters' spiel as you're walking in.
Oh, weird.
Apparently, they were giving out free T-shirts that said like "May stands with Hong Kong," and they were sick T-shirts. I would have gotten one for free. They were free. I didn't know though until afterwards. Otherwise, I would have worn one.
Just because of like
Blizzard also like
the moment. That's a cool piece of history, I guess, to have one of those shirts. Anyway, go ahead.
It kind of is. But then the other thing too is like Blizzard really like relaxed. Like there were 3 dudes walking around in Winnie the Pooh onesies, like head to toe, hat on, Winnie the Pooh. When we watched the Overwatch World Cup finals, they were even sitting in the Team USA section. So if they were panning the camera over, they definitely caught those Winnie the Pooh boys.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
I don't know, man. Like, it seemed like they were like, we messed up. I don't know. I thought their apology was pretty garbo, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's like what we talked about, like at the first, I think in episode 0, or even before episode 0, like before we started recording, or maybe it was like cut or something. When we said like we didn't want to talk about like political stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's cool to talk about BlizzCon because like it was fun. I had a great time.
Sure.
But like the political side of it, I mean that's its own thing.
Well, that's just like
enjoyed...
it's related to what you did. We're not just like, so how about the Congress, huh? Or whatever.
I mean, you could enjoy BlizzCon and not know about the political stuff.
Yeah. And
you could have not enjoyed BlizzCon and still not known about political stuff.
Yeah.
Or you could hate BlizzCon because of the political stuff. I don't know. I had a good time though. It was a birthday present from a friend, and I know that like him and I both needed a break, and it was a really good break.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I had a really good time.
Nice.
Yeah. Would I go again? Probably in like a couple of years. Would I go next year? Probably not.
To watch Diablo 4 DLC, whatever they're gonna have next year.
Yeah. What I really wanted them to do when they were announcing Diablo 4 is for the dude talking about Diablo 4 to take out his cell phone and be like, we don't need this, and just toss his cell phone aside. Like, I would really love for them to BM their last year's BlizzCon.
But they're not going to, because they're still going to do... Aren't they still going to do...
They had the Diablo Immortal, like, there to beta. But then, so, the thing is, though, is that, like, I was like, oh, who's gonna play Diablo Immortal, like, on your mobile? That's so stupid. And then I was talking to my friend, and he was like, I'm gonna be deployed. I have no way of playing Diablo with my wife, and that's, like, one of our favorite games to play together. But if we both have cell phones, we can both play together still. So I was like, oh, I see. So it does kind of make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought the same thing about, like Call of Duty Mobile. I tried that out on my old Android phone just to see how it runs and all that kind of stuff. And it's like surprisingly fun. Surprisingly, I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Mortal Kombat, Modern Warfare, the new Modern Warfare. Like, I like Call of Duty Mobile, the free whatever, more than Modern Warfare. And it's like, okay, well, I'm playing this on a phone, so maybe phone games, just because they're on phones, aren't bad. And like, here we are talking about, like, you know, home games is largely going to be people playing it on their phones. So you just kind of have to embrace it at a certain point.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I thought that maybe, I don't know, I think they maybe just announced it really wrong, because if they said like, hey, listen, there's people out there who want to play together, but they don't both have computers, they both don't have consoles, but like, you know, like for whatever reason, one of them has to play on a phone.
Right.
That's a good way for people to connect still. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, like he played the beta for Diablo Immortal with his wife, and they had a good time. They said they were going to get it for sure. I was like, that's cool, man. I don't know. I didn't think about that stuff. Like, I don't really play on my phone, so I don't really think about phone games very often.
Yeah.
But if your options are like never playing a game with your wife for like 4 years because you're in the military, or playing on a phone with your wife, I mean, I don't know anyone who would pick not playing games at all with your wife if that's what you're into, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. If the game sucks, I wouldn't play it though. So, like...
No, yeah, but like if you enjoy the game, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't have anything against mobile games or whatever. Just people like to be mad at things.
That's true. Anyway, Overwatch 2 looked hype. The PvE mode looked like you're running a dungeon from World of Warcraft, but in Overwatch, it was actually fun. I enjoyed it a lot. My friend threw himself off a cliff as Reinhardt, and that's all I have to say about that.
Very nice. I played Overwatch 1 with Overwatch for an hour. It's like, this is not for me. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm terrible at Overwatch.
Yeah.
I've been trying to play more after, like watching the World Cup, because that was really cool. Like watching the World Cup. I don't know if I told you this. So during the World Cup for Overwatch on Saturday, Trevor and I watched like that World Cup thing for Overwatch for like 8 hours. Like the whole day we spent in the arena, like watching it with like 9,000 people. But it was kind of cool because the finals was between the U.S. and China, and like 75% of that stadium was Team USA, and 25% of that stadium was China. And so from like 5 to 10 minutes before, to like the very end of that game, one of those two fans groups were cheering. So the China supporters were like, China, China, or the U.S. supporters were like, USA, USA, USA.
Always down for a USA chant.
Yeah, I got hyped. I got in there. I was screaming USA. My friend who got us tickets and that's like right next to me, he lost his voice. Like the announcer dude who like goes down with the shirt cannon usually and like shoots the shirts into the audience. Yeah. He was like, all right, guys, I lost my voice. Let's do this. So
the announcer from Crazy Taxi?
Yeah, like it was wild, dude. Like it was crazy. It was just like so hyped that I left there being like, I gotta play this game more. Like, I have to.
Nice.
Yeah. But I'm not a shill. I don't buy loot boxes.
At least you have principles.
I'm principled. I don't buy any loot boxes. Mostly because I don't have that kind of disposable income. All right. I don't really have anything else, so.
I officially asked Tynan to do our music. So whenever he gets back from his trip, we're going to talk about how we're going to set that whole thing up, but we're officially getting music. So
is it intro or outro music?
That's one of the things we're going to talk about, but we're probably going to need both.
Yeah.
Or if I want to cheap out, awesome. I'll just get the intro and then I'll play the outro will be the intro played in reverse. People will think it's a difference.
Oh my god, I was actually going to say that. Damn it.
Same joke.
Same joke. All right, so starting next week, we'll do the Mind Meld, the regular, the medium to start the podcast. That's how we'll start every podcast from now on.
Okay, I guess that's a new process. That means I have to fix that game before next week.
Yeah, we have a week to get going. No, what else? Episode 4. We're on Spotify, YouTube. Not YouTube.
We're not YouTube.
Spotify, Apple, anywhere you can get podcasts, but not YouTube because we don't want to put our faces up there yet.
Yeah.
We will eventually.
We added Stitcher. Maybe. We added Stitcher to that list of stuff that we're on. I made a Stitcher account, so whoever's on.
I have no idea what Stitcher even is.
Me neither, man. It was the one thing that wasn't listed or that we weren't listed on, so just kind of for the completion thing, I just did it, even though I've never heard of Stitcher in my life.
Starting a podcast any percent.
I'm trying to get a platinum on starting a podcast, so how to get them all.
There we go. Are we on Apple?
Yeah.
Apple Podcast now? Because you said it was like a couple weeks for like an approval, right?
Yeah. I read the whole list last time. It was like everything. It was everything except Stitcher.
Okay. I don't even remember. Dude, I'm telling you, you've listened to these podcasts so much. You know the whole. You're like a lore master at this point.
I'm our biggest fan.
I'll watch them more so that I can quote from previous episodes.
No, you don't need to watch
this. The summer theme is running through.
You don't need to listen to these more because then you're just gonna get sick of us.
No, I won't. I enjoy listening to your voice. You're very soothing sound.
I did do the welcome back to the home. I felt like an announcer.
Did you really?
Well, because on the last one I had to host because you had abandoned me, so I was the.
Oh my god! I didn't abandon you.
Because I was the one.
The timing just didn't work out. I legitimately didn't have the time to do like a 2 to 2.5 hour podcast last week.
I'm just joking. You can leave whenever you want.
No. I'll never leave you.
All right. I know that, but...
All right. Home Games, the podcast.
Is it Patch Notes? Is it Patch Notes?
It's Patch Notes, the Home Games, the podcast.
Great.
No, Patch Notes, the Home Games podcast. We'll see you guys next week. This one comes out Wednesday, the 12th.
No, this will be the next
13th. Oh, so close.
This will be the 20th because the 13th.
Oh, never mind. I was a week off.
The 13th is the one with me and Synovia. People will hear this on the 20th. We are going to record the next one on the 16th.
That's right. The 16th. Are we taking a break for Thanksgiving?
We'll figure out something for Thanksgiving, but we'll both be in.
No, you'll be in town for Thanksgiving.
I will be in town.
Do the full crew for Home Games, the podcast.
I don't know. It might be harder to get Synovia because her schedule basically, it might be different, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. If not, it'll be me and Joseph live from the echo chamber, which I'll be referring to as this room.
Oh yeah, people might not know. You probably pick it up, but we've also kind of referenced to it. But Yazeed and I are not in the same place when we record these. The one last.
No, we're
week.
even in different time zones now.
Yeah.
We're on different times. I got to sleep an extra hour today because of Joseph.
Yeah, now I'm an hour behind Yazeed, so it all kind of works out. But
it's okay.
Yeah.
Time is nothing between best friends.
That's true.
Lovers.
We'll leave it at that.
This went off the rails so fast. All right. See you later.